Hello and welcome to GameSack. Let's take a look at some collections and compilations. These are basically releases that contain multiple games that have been previously released. And yes, something like Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt does count. I don't really count the 101s and stuff like that though because they're not official and, well, they just seem kind of cheap to me. But let's start with one that covers one of my favorite series, Castlevania. This is Castlevania Anniversary Collection from Konami and M2. It's available for all of the modern consoles, of course, and I'm playing it on the Switch 2 here. In this one, you get the original Castlevania for the NES, Castlevania 2, Castlevania 3, Super Castlevania 4 for the Super NES, Castlevania The Adventure on Game Boy, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge, Castlevania Bloodlines for the Genesis, and Kid Dracula for the Famicom, now in English. These are all absolutely fantastic games. Well, except maybe for Kid Dracula, which is perfectly fine and fun, but I could take it or leave it. And the games are presented here mostly well. For the NES and Game Boy games, I need to remap the controls, which is thankfully pretty easy to do. Seriously, nobody wants to jump with A. You can't alter the controls for the Super NES and Genesis titles since you changed them in those games' option screens. No big deal. Display-wise, you get a few options. Normal attempts to present them in their original aspect ratio, but there's some shimmering in the scrolling in all but the Game Boy titles. It might be tough to notice in some games, but you can definitely see the uneven scaling in the life bars in any given game. Yuck. This is because Konami, or M2 rather, has no idea what interpolation is for the scaling. Instead, they use nearest neighbor scaling. Fortunately, they offer a pixel perfect mode that fixes all of that, at the expense of a screen that's a little bit stretched. Either way, the screen isn't full vertically. The only way you can do that is to stretch it to 16 by 9. In this mode, the scrolling is perfect on the horizontal axis, but it shimmers when moving vertically. There's also a scanline filter that you can apply which also blurs the image quite a bit. This is a little too dark to feel realistic, but it does take care of any of the scrolling issues that I mentioned above. The Game Boy games don't noticeably suffer from these issues even though they offer a pixel perfect mode. And that mode isn't much smaller than full screen. I love the dot matrix filter, which does a great job making it feel like a real Game Boy. Or perhaps one with a backlight. You can also choose a Super Game Boy-like default color palette, though you can't edit it. You can even enable TV scanlines in this mode. In Castlevania 2 on Game Boy, they got rid of the flickering mountains in these windows and just left them solid. That's because there's no image retention here like there was on the original Game Boy screen that the developers were taking advantage of. Otherwise, the emulation in every game seems fantastic in all regards. The only real bonuses here are some artwork and box scans. Kinda neat, I guess, better than nothing. But if you select the bonus JP version, you get the Japanese versions of the games. Now you can hear Castlevania 3 in all of its extra sound chip glory and play Super Castlevania 4 with its disgusting blood and scary crucifixes. Sadly, Castlevania 2's Japanese version isn't here, so you don't get to play that with the FM audio from the Famicom Disk System. I do wish they had included that as well as the third Game Boy game and Dracula X on the Super NES. Still, this is an awesome collection, which could have a slightly better video presentation on most of the games. Here's the Memorial series from Sunsoft. This is a 6-disc series only released in Japan from 2001 to 2002 on the PlayStation that features 2 games per disc. These could all easily fit onto a single disc, but there was money to be made. Volume 1 has Super Arabian and Ikki. Volume 2 has Atlantis no Nazo and Route 16 Turbo. Volume 3's got Kenshaku Dama Nage Kentaro no Tokaido Goju Sansui and The Wing of Medulla. On Volume 4, we get into Famicom stuff like Blaster Master and Ripple Island. Volume 5 has Journey to Silius and Euphoria, the Saga. Lastly, Volume 6 has Gimmick and Super Spy Hunter. A lot of these are ancient games for old computers and whatnot, so I can't say how well they're emulated. But I think it's safe to assume that they're not perfect. The sound is particularly shrill and painful. On the last 3 discs, we have NES games, or rather their Japanese Famicom versions. These are bad. The emulation is super rough, especially the audio. Here's how Blaster Master is supposed to look and sound. And here's how it looks and sounds in this collection. Ugh. The state of NES emulation was way better than this in 2001, so I have no idea what happened here. These games have absolutely brilliant music, and unfortunately it's utterly ruined to the point of being unlistenable. On the final disc, they did seem to make some progress in their audio emulation. It's much better, but don't get me wrong, it still sounds like ass. This seems to have come at the cost of performance, as there is some hefty slowdown where there was little to none in the original 8-bit game. You can reset to any game's title screen by pressing R1 and R2 simultaneously. And you can go back out to the menu by pressing L1 and L2 at the same time. Each disc has the same menu music, and special features. In one area, you can look at a few select pieces of artwork from each game. You can also listen to a few musical tracks, but not many. These are audio streams and not emulated music, so they sound like they should. Lastly, there's a quiz section where you can answer some questions about the games on the disc. Since these are all in Japanese, it's a little rough unless you want to use your phone to translate the text. Overall, these discs are very bad representations of the original games, and they don't offer much on top of that. Hell, I'm surprised that they were even released. As you can see so far, the quality of these releases is all over the map. Fortunately, this next one is pretty damn good. Unfortunately, it's only available as a digital download. Here's Capcom Arcade Stadium from Capcom. You can get it on the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I'm playing on the Switch 2 here. This is a pretty crazy collection with 32 arcade games. You have Carrier Air Wing, Street Fighter II, Captain Commando, Varth, Warriors of Fate, Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter II Turbo, Powered Gear, Cyberbots, 19XX, Battle Circuit, Giga Wing, 1944 The Loop Master, Pro Gear, Vulgus, Pirate Ship Higemaru, 1942, Commando, Ghosts and Goblins, Section Z, Tatakai no Banka, Legendary Wings, Bionic Commando, 1943, Forgotten Worlds, Ghouls and Ghosts, Strider, Dynasty Wars, Final Fight, 1941 Counterattack, Mercs, and Mega Twins. Tons of great stuff here. These can be purchased in a bundle or separately. They all play well too, with plenty of options. You can choose the English or Japanese ROM, but if the game doesn't have one version or the other, you can't play it until you switch your settings, so don't be an idiot like me. Weirdly, Mercs only has the Japanese version available for some odd reason. There are several different display settings. Most of these will exhibit a minute amount of shimmering as they scroll, but nothing too bad. Some horizontal and maybe even some vertical interpolation would have prevented that in all the modes. The arcade mode displays a bit smaller and will have the least amount of shimmering, but honestly the normal mode, which is full screen, isn't awful. You can enable scan lines and they do darken the image significantly. You can also blur the image and even have a CRT curve. In fact, this mode looks pretty cool at first, until you realize that the scan lines don't follow the CRT curve. What the hell? Fortunately, the scan lines are correct for tape mode games like the Japanese Mercs here. You can also rotate the screen around and stretch everything to 16:9. I wish there were a global setting, because I find myself needing to set this for every game, and that definitely gets tiresome when you're trying each of these 32 games. You can adjust the dip switch settings like difficulty and whatnot before you begin each game. You can press plus at any time during the gameplay to go to the menu and adjust certain options, including the controls. You can set them up any way you want. This menu is also how you exit the game and choose a different one. There are some special challenges you can compete in which have their own rules if you're so interested. It also has an online ranking component. You can rewind a game at any time by holding the L2 button if you screw up. Moreover, you can adjust the speed of the game by tapping the R2 button. You can make it faster and then fastest. Then you move down to super slow motion speed, then slow, then back to normal speed. I find myself accidentally doing this a lot, but you can reassign these controls. The emulation all seems pretty damn good to me, though I do wish the scanline modes were a bit better and that there were global settings. This is still an outstanding package with tons of fun that will keep you busy for a very long time. A year later, in 2022, Capcom released Capcom Arcade Second Stadium featuring 32 more games. It's available for the same consoles, but again, I'm playing it on the exciting Switch 2 here. It includes, oh boy, here we go again. Sun, Savage Bees, Gunsmoke, The Speed Rumbler, Sidearms, Hisatsu Buraiken, Black Tiger, Street Fighter 1, Tiger Road, 1943 Kai, Last Duel, Rally 2011 LED Storm, Magic Sword, Three Wonders, The King of Dragons, Block, Knights of the Round, Saturday Night Slam Masters, Eco Fighters, Nickies, Dark Stalkers, Night Warriors, Street Fighter Alpha, Mega Man The Power Battle, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters, Vampire Savior, Capcom Sports Club, Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Hyper Street Fighter 2 The Anniversary Edition. Whew, you try saying all that in a single breath. Again, there's plenty of great stuff here to keep you busy. There are lots and lots of fighting games here, so it'll be really helpful if you have a third-party controller specializing in that. This collection is set up the same way as the first Arcade Stadium with the same options, features, and yes, even the same quirks. These titles go on sale every so often, so when they do, be sure to grab them if you like Capcom arcade games. And how could you not like Capcom arcade games?
Ready? Go!
Okay, this is 6-pack on the Genesis from Sega. This has 6 games, believe it or not, and it comes on a 24 meg cartridge. You've got Sonic the Hedgehog, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi, Super Hang-On, and Columns. There's a pretty basic menu here which has its own music. Each game is here in all of its own glory. Well, Revenge of Shinobi has the license screen at the beginning, and lots of the movie icons have been changed to look different. For example, this bald guy was originally supposed to look like Rambo. Oh well, Sega was just learning about copyright back then, you can't blame them, they're so silly. When you press reset, the game you're playing resets to itself. There's no way to get back to the main menu except to power the Genesis off, and then back on again. It's weird that they spell pack like Nintendo does. Again, Sega was just learning about copyright, but maybe Nintendo never secured this particular spelling. It comes with a single black and white instruction manual which covers all the games. There are lots of good games on this for probably what was a decent price at the time. Similarly, there's Mega Games 1 for PAL regions, but it works just fine on my NTSC Genesis. This one only has 3 games, Super Hang-On, Columns, and of course, since this is for the European region, they need to have a soccer game in the form of World Cup Italia 90. This one was simply known as World Cup Soccer in North America, and it's kind of mediocre. This comes with the full instruction manual for all 3 games, and as a result, I can barely close the box. This is because they have hundreds of languages over there, and each and every one of them must be represented. The cool thing about this one is that you can reset from the game to the menu with the reset button. That's awesome! The PAL region also had Mega Games 2. Again, you get 3 games, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, and Revenge of Shinobi. This, obviously, is way better than Mega Games 1. I can't believe that there's a Sega compilation without Columns, or Sonic. Again, it can reset to the selection menu, which you'll never get tired of. Some of you may be wondering why there aren't more compilations handled by M2 in this episode. Well, they got their own dedicated episode 6 weeks ago. Check it out if you haven't. But what about another big name in this field? Digital Eclipse. Here's SNK 40th Anniversary Collection from NIS and Digital Eclipse. It came out in 2018 on the Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. I'm playing on the PS5 here. This one has 25 games, including Alpha Mission, Athena, Beast Busters, Bermuda Triangle, Chopper Eye, Crystallis, Fantasy, Guerrilla War, Akari Warriors 2 Victory Road, Akari 3 The Rescue, Iron Tank, Munch Mobile, Ozma Wars, Paddlemania, POW, Prehistoric Isle, Psycho Soldier, SAR Search and Rescue, Sasuke vs. Commander, Street Smart, Time Soldiers, TNK 3, Vanguard, and World Wars. The Xbox version also has the NES game Baseball Stars. As you can see, this has tons of early yet classic games. I covered a lot of these games in my SNK Before the Neo Geo episode. I didn't use this disc for that, but I should have, because this is excellent. The user interface is perhaps the best I've seen for a game compilation such as this. Some of these let you choose to play either the arcade or the console version of the game. You can also switch the region of most games. The filters are simple and easy to implement at any time in the option screen. You can choose between 3 screen sizes, and there is no shimmering in any direction at any screen size because Digital Eclipse understands interpolation for non-integer scaling. There's a CRT filter and a monitor filter. The CRT filter is fantastic. The scan lines don't darken the image drastically, and the video itself looks really good. I especially love the analog signal artifacts, like how the colors aren't entirely stable. And yes, the scan lines are correct for the tape mode games. The monitor effect looks fine, but I think I prefer the CRT filter. The only thing missing is an option to curve the screen a bit. These settings are global, so set them once in one game and then suddenly all games will have the same scaling and filters applied. Unfortunately, the arcade version of Guerrilla War is a bit strange. Notice how it's scrolling in odd segments. That doesn't look right. This same game doesn't do this if you run it in MAME. It's obviously a screen tearing issue, so I'm guessing they just didn't compensate for the speed that the arcade runs at versus what we're playing here. It's too bad, as it's quite ugly. Everything else that I've played looks great. Naturally, you can adjust the controls on a per-game basis. Games like Akari Warriors that originally featured a rotary joystick in the arcade now work more like twin-stick shooters. It feels very natural. There's a rewind feature that you can use if you screw up so you can go back a bit. Many games also have watch modes, where you can watch someone who knows what they're doing play the game. You can fast forward to your heart's content if you want to see how they deal with a certain part. What's more is that you can jump right in and start playing at any time during the watch segment. That is kind of cool. When exiting a game, you have an option to save it or not to come back to the same place later. There's also a museum feature here that lets you explore SNK's history on a game-by-game basis up to a certain point, even games that aren't included in this collection. You'll get tidbits of information about each game. There's even a soundtrack section where you can listen to the music from several, but not all of the games. This is a very well put together collection except for the Guerrilla War issue, and the front end simply could not be better. This is Atari 50, the Anniversary Celebration. It's available for the Switch, PS4 and 5, Xbox One and Series, and PC. I'm running it on the PlayStation 5. This came out in 2022 and was developed by Digital Eclipse. This features 115 games for various Atari platforms like arcade, the 2600, 5200, 7800, the 8-bit computers, the Lynx, and even the Jag UR. Hey Brits, are you happy how I said that? It's a red letter day for you. I'm not going to list each and every game for you one by one because, dear lord, just go through this video frame by frame if you really want to see what's on here. But it is a ton of content to be sure. I mean, we're still not at the end of the list yet. Oh well, we'll get there. Okay, there we go. You can get 38 more games if you want to pay for the DLC for a total of 153 games. A few of them need to be unlocked by playing other games, and they give you some vague hints on how to do it. The options here are similar to the SNK 40th collection on the screen sizes and the filters. They are once again global settings. The CRT filter still doesn't have a curve, but it does feature a slight vignette to give a small impression of one. However, this one doesn't let you save when exiting a game, nor does it have the rewind feature. The video and audio quality all seem faithful to my memory for better or for worse. Some games let you enable overclocking or other enhancements, like Tempest 2000 on the Jaguar. Uh-oh, I said Jaguar instead of Jaguar. It's all in good fun. Despite having so many games, these are really only part of this title. The other part is the interactive timelines about the history of Atari. These include videos and lots of good stuff, including newly done interviews just for this collection.
Bushnell has developed 2 such games, Computer Space and Pong.
There are many pictures and ads to explore as well. I did notice that every single video in here is messed up on the very bottom, like it's taking the bottommost line and just stretching it down. I've seen this in games that have FMV before, like Demolition Man on the Sega CD. Oh well, it's not hugely objectionable and only nerds like me are gonna notice. But I did notice. Some games will pop up on the timeline, and you can even play them directly from here if you'd like. There are 7 different timeline sections full of interesting stuff, but the last 2 are part of the DLC that you can buy. One last thing is that Digital Eclipse included some reimagined versions of the games, M2 style. For example, there's a version of Haunted House which is now 3D and full of tutorial messages. That's scary! Or Neo Breakout, which starts out in boring black and white, but soon smashes through and suddenly you're playing in the future! Quadra Tank is a new take on combat, and it features true tank control with 2 analog sticks. This will take a bit of getting used to. Sword Quest Air World is interesting. It starts out with you moving up through the clouds, kind of like Frogger. Then you're in the maze, questing for the sword, I guess. This touch me thing is weird, kind of like that old game Simon, I suppose. Please do not touch me. Then there's Victor Scooter. Vowels were prohibited from being in the title, so as far as I know, that's what it's called. That's what I'm gonna call it. I really like this one. It starts out in an asteroid style. Get past that, and suddenly it's Lunar Lander. Try to land the craft while staying intact. Do well, and suddenly it's whatever this is. It's super cool, I love it. Then there's Yar's Revenge Enhanced. This is basically Yar's Revenge, but enhanced. I don't remember how to play this, but it looks cool. Fortunately, each game comes with an instruction manual, so you can figure out what the hell you're supposed to do, which could be anything with these old games. This is an absolutely fantastic collection, especially if you like Atari. We continue on with Digital Eclipse, but with some of their older stuff. Sad to say they weren't always as good as they are today, but hey, back then it was a crazy time for this kind of stuff, the Wild West, if you will. Here's Midway Arcade Treasures for the GameCube from Digital Eclipse. It also came out on the original Xbox, PlayStation 2, and PC. This has 720 Degrees, Joust, Rampart, Splat, Spy Hunter, Road Blasters, Joust 2, Blaster, Bubbles, Clax, Robotron 2084, Super Sprint, Root Beer Tapper, Satan's Hollow, Marble Madness, Defender, Defender 2, Paperboy, Sinistar, Tubin, Gauntlet, Rampage, Vindicators, and Smash TV. A really good collection of mostly earlier games. Unfortunately, the video quality here leaves a lot to be desired, as it's all pretty blurry looking. There are no filter or screen resizing options here. The audio is generally pretty bad. This was one of my complaints about anything Digital Eclipse touched back in the day. You can adjust game options like difficulty or whatnot before you begin. The only option you have while playing is the ability to exit back out to the menu. Speaking of the menu, it also leaves much to be desired. The full motion video of the title screens is very blurry, and it can be difficult to make out what each game is. Like Sinistar here, can you read that? Just barely. Hell, it can often take several seconds for the title screen to even appear. It's just a very clumsy menu system. As for extras, some games have promotional or other scanned things to look at. There might be some trivia or history text as well. A few of the games have video interviews.
They'd have to be nude down there. So I did a little nude picture.
This collection is worth it for Robotron and Smash TV though. The next year, Midway Arcade Treasures 2 came out for the same systems, also from Digital Eclipse. This, once again, is the GameCube version. This one has APB, Arch Rivals, Championship Sprint, Cyberball 2072, Gauntlet 2, Hard Drivin', Cosmic Cruiser, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, Narc, Pit Fighter, Primal Rage, Rampage World Tour, Spy Hunter 2, Timber, Total Carnage, Wacko, Wizard of War, Xenophobe, and Zybots. It's a decent collection of games. This one is handled better than the first collection. For one, the menu system is much better and easier to read. Each game has bonus material. Some of them have video segments to watch.
Mortal Kombat 2! More characters! 3 times more images!
Unfortunately, the games themselves still look a little blurry or ugly. Take a look at Hard Drivin' here. I can't even read that, but it's supposed to say RPM. You can resize the video at any time, but sadly, it doesn't seem to give the games any more resolution to work with. I've heard that the Mortal Kombat games have some emulation issues here, but I've never been into those games, so I can't tell you. Overall, this is an okay compilation. A year after that, we got Midway Arcade Treasures 3, again for the same platforms from Digital Eclipse. This is the GameCube version, yada yada yada. This is basically all racing games, including Hydro Thunder, San Francisco Rush 2049, Off-Road Thunder, San Francisco Rush The Rock, Stun Runner, Badlands, Race Drivin', Super Off-Road, and Super Off-Road Track Pack. The games on here are mostly pretty fun to play, though none of them run at a constant 60 frames per second. They fixed the dashboard in Race Drivin', but man, they messed up the controls. Yikes, can I brake please? I'm pressing brake and I'm also pressing right. Speaking of that, there's absolutely no way to change the controls anywhere. Did they just forget to add that feature? What the hell? If it's here, they sure hid it away real good. The Atari games like Stun Runner have extremely shrill audio. I guess this must have been before the futuristic technology of low-pass filters were invented. I do like the super simple menu though. There's really no need for menus to be fancy or complicated. I just want to get to the damn game, and this lets me do it right away. The extra content is basically just a trailer for an Ed, Edd and Eddy game, and also some credits with music made inside the old Apple Soundtrack Pro application. I recognize all of these royalty-free loops. This is a really fun collection, but it's kind of hard to go back to these days because of the lack of options available. I'd really love to see this series re-released on modern consoles. Thankfully, Digital Eclipse has improved themselves dramatically over the years. Here's Sonic Gems Collection for the GameCube by Sega. It's also on the PlayStation 2. Have an Xbox? Well then you can go straight to hell. This has Sonic the Fighters, Sonic CD, Sonic R, a bunch of Game Gear games like Sonic 2, Sonic Spinball, Sonic Triple Trouble, Sonic Drift 2, Tails Sky Patrol, Tails Adventures, and 2 hidden games you need to unlock by spending hours and hours playing certain games in this collection. Those 2 games are Vector Man 1 and 2 for the Genesis, by the way. The Japanese version has more unlockable games, because us Westerners can go straight to hell. Sonic the Fighters is an arcade game that had never been released at home until this collection. It plays pretty well, and it looks fine on the GameCube here. Sonic CD is another story entirely. This is incredibly blurry. Look at that! Sonic Mega Collection on the same system which came out earlier looked much better. I think it's because this title doesn't support 240p, and the blur helps reduce the shimmer in the interlaced mode on the CRT by a significant amount. It's too bad, because the GameCube can do 240p just like those old consoles, and every TV at the time supported 240p. 480p is supported, yet they still have the blur turned on in this mode. This game is also based on the PC version. That means each time it loads, it flashes this graphic of a planet real quick. It's also why the clouds are all warpy on the title screen and run at a higher frame rate. The bonus stages have also increased from 15 frames per second in the original to 30 frames per second here. Gotta go fast. I do like how the intro and ending FMVs are full screen now and look super good and run at a much higher frame rate than they did on the wimpy Sega CD. Not only that, but they're in stereo now. Also based on the PC version is Sonic R. Everything here looks to be rendered in a slightly higher resolution than it was on the Saturn, and it even runs a bit smoother. There's also no polygonal fade-in as things approach. Overall, this looks pretty awesome here. The Game Gear games are all extremely blurry as well. I guess this helps make them bearable when they're blown up so large, but I could do perhaps with a bit less blur. There are no filters you can turn on or off. It's blur and only blur. The Game Gear games can be shrunk to a smaller size by flicking the yellow nipple on the GameCube controller. Just keep flicking it. It likes it. It likes it a lot.
Oh my goodness.
The Vector Man titles that you unlock also get the blurry treatment. As far as other stuff, you get the manuals for each game. It's kind of tough to read them though. You have to zoom in really far and then scroll the image around as you read it. So that'll add some fun to your life. There's also an extra section which unlocks things as you play. It tells you how to unlock each thing, and it's usually something like playing for 900 hours or just being really good at a certain part. This section is pretty cool though. It's mostly images that you unlock, and these are usually pretty high quality stuff. But there's also some promotional videos on the last page for you to watch again and again. Lastly, there are some special timed challenges for you to do, and this is a great idea. I think they handled this idea better than the Capcom Arcade Stadium does. What's more is that these challenges are often from games that aren't even included in this collection, like Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. Or how about Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine? Yeah, okay, I'm not this good. This is gonna be a little tough for me. These definitely add to the overall playability of the Sonic Gems collection. Overall, this is a good bundle with some great ideas. They just forgot that 240p was a thing for most of these games. And there you go, more gaming compilations for you. Be sure to check out the other 2 episodes on the subject, episodes 135 and episode 211. Now, I'll try to remember to leave links to those episodes in the description, but from my perspective right here, this episode doesn't come out for 6 more weeks, so it's easy to forget. Please remind me if I didn't put those down there. Anyway, you guys, let me know some of your favorite gaming compilations, and in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSag. So many great games. I love Nintendo. Are you ready to step the fun up to 16-bit power?
Heck yes I am!
Well then you're ready for the Super Nintendo.
Awesome!
Are you ready to quadruple the amount of fun?
No! I just got the Super Nintendo. I want to play that.
Then you want the Nintendo 64.
I want to play the 16-bit games. I bet they're super rad.
Tired of that? Then maybe you're born to play the Nintendo GameCube.
Like, how much better are the graphics on the Super Nintendo?
It's time to upgrade to the Nintendo Wii. Throw your GameCube away. It's a piece of crap.
So what games does the Super Nintendo have?
Now you can be part of the fun with the new Nintendo Wii U.
Does it have any Contra games?
Shift the fun and take it on the go with the exciting new Nintendo Switch.
Or how about Battletoads? Does it have Battletoads?
If you really want the ultimate in fun, the Nintendo Switch 2 is now available everywhere.
You know what I'd like? A Castlevania game. Castlevania would be awesome on the Super Nintendo.
The Nintendo Switch 2 is the best Nintendo console yet.
Okay, I don't know what this crazy thing is, but can we go back a few consoles? More. Keep going. Again. One more. There we go. I'm gonna take this before you turn it into something gimmicky, okay?
Get yourself a Nintendo Switch 2 today!